UFC 300, the Masters, NBA, NHL, and we've got props galore in all of those sports. Welcome to Prop It Up. I am Andy from WagerTalk.com, being joined, as always, by my fellow prop master, Andrew McGinnis from WagerTalk.com. We're going to talk a little NBA and NHL just a bit later, but we're down to the end of the season. We're seeing some kind of crazy, wonky results, so we're not going to be real heavy on that. We are going to start off with UFC 300 props, and we're going to I'll go over some Masters props because I think there's some really good value in some of the second round scores you guys can take advantage of today. But Andrew, UFC 300 props. I have the parlay buster of the year coming up here. So we'll go over what are your thoughts on UFC 300 here?
I'm excited, Andy. I'm excited for the fact that it's not going to be just like one fight you're waiting for all night. All these fights are going to be very intriguing and have a different thing that they bring to them. But one thing about these big events that kind of bother you a little bit as a sports bettor is when you feel like you're on the same bet as, half of the world. And that's one of the plays I have here in the prop market, which would be Bo Nickal to win via submission over Cody Brundage. And the fact of the matter is, I just look at this and you're getting a guy that's laying minus 2,000 and you get that number down to minus 125. Right. And you look at a guy that's supposed to win, should win. And it reminds you what the UFC does. It seems like every single year, there's a new guy that comes in, maybe every 2 years, a new guy that comes in, and they just want to build them up. They just want to give them these layups, give them really good matchups for them, and give them a good record until they end up, putting them in a spot. And we've seen that with a lot of guys that are good on the mic. And this guy isn't even really that good on the mic, but they just want to build him up big time. And 3 of his last 4 wins have come via submission. 3 of his last 5 overall via submission. A 50% takedown rate. It's very, very impressive. And of course, talking about his opponent here, I think this is probably a guy versus some of the guys he has fought that, can defend takedowns. He actually doesn't mind being on the mat as well here, Andy. But when it comes down to it, his submission defense, he has been been submitted before. And I just look at this matchup and I think that once it goes down to the ground, as much as that Brundage is going to try and keep it on the feet, Bo Nickal is going to have his way with him. And I don't think that when you looked at path to victories, we saw Bo Nickal with a TKO victory. I don't think that happens again. I think in his career moving forward, it's either going to be via submission or he wins it by points and just kind of scraping by, controlling the octagon. So when it comes down to it, ultimately, I'm getting minus 2,000 at most shops, all the way down to minus 125. It's a 2% free play for me up at the website, Andy. That's one play I'm involved in here at WagerTalk.com.
All right, so I've been going through UFC 300 and I've been trying to find what are the ones that everyone's going to get smoked on, because it's a high profile pay-per-view and we always know there's a couple parlays that just get wrecked. Originally, my first nominee was Weili Zhang was going to lose Tian Xiaonan. I had that one as a nominee because I love the striking of Yan. Weili's had some great wins, but they've been against some opponents kind of past their prime. So I looked at that one. I think Jalen Turner is really dangerous to put in your parlays against Moicano. Turner doesn't have a very good gas tank. And then I was scrolling through the old social media, Andrew, and I see an interview with none other than the aforementioned Bo Nickal. And they just ask him about early finishes. And he says, yeah, I was really upset about that early finish. We work so hard in camp and then I don't get much cage time. So I would like to see this fight get to the second round. What? You can get this fight to start round 2 at plus 150 right now. And this fight is absolutely being steamed to the under. And like you said, everyone's going to try and figure out a way how to make money off of Bo Nickal. And they're going to take him by submission. And I think the unders is also going to be a big one. And I know that because I've seen the line move. It is minus 360, under 1.5. Andrew, I'm going to take Bo Nickal and Cody Brundage will start round 2. He kind of he kind of went a little bit more into detail about it. He said, these early finishes, I'm not getting better. I'm not getting any experience. And so I need to get some more cage time. And we know Cody Brundage has cardio for at least a round. And we know he's not like horrible with his wrestling and submission defense. So I think you're going to see a little bit of a reserved attack from Bo Nickal early as he tries to get more cage time. And there have been two separate events in the PFL where they had young fighters trying to get more cage time. And one of them almost lost. That was Biagio Ali Walsh. He almost lost. And then Lucas Brennan did lose. Both of their fights went the distance. Those guys have been early finishers throughout their career. And so Bo Nickal and Cody Brundage, I think this fight is going to go longer than people expect. I agree with you that Bo Nickal eventually gets the finish because Cody Brundage at some point will give up. At some point, he'll just be so gassed that he will just stop fighting, and Bo Nickal will probably wrap up this mission. But I think it's going to be in round 2, maybe even round 3. So if you are taking unders the Bo Nickal fight, I would just say tread very, very lightly because I'm going to grab that plus 150 after seeing that interview. It was if you guys should look it up because he was very honest about how like he was almost to the point where he was mad that he won early. Like he was upset that Woodburn like got knocked out early in the first round. So I thought it was a very, very interesting interview. And I'm telling you guys, if you guys want to go in depth on UFC and PFL, there are great videos out there. These fighters are more open than ever about their strategies and about things that are going on with them. So, Andrew, any other UFC 300 props that you've been looking at besides Nickal by submission?
I like that one, Andy. And as you know, man, people get greedy. People get greedy when they're betting. And the fact is, nobody will like that minus price that I talked about with the submission. They're going to say, no. Let's make that even better and put it first round submission. And he'll go out there and like halfway through the second round, he'll get the submission. So, couldn't agree more with you on that one. And obviously in the interview, if it's there for him in the first round, he's not going to like back away. But I think that they come into it with a plan of like trying certain things. And like I mentioned, Brundage is not like, this isn't an easy opponent by any means. I think the cardio will just eventually gas out, as you mentioned. I don't know if this is going to be a contrarian play or not. Andy, you tell me if I'm being contrarian here. But I like the under 4.5 in Gaethje and Holloway. Holloway, obviously moving up in weight a little bit. I think that's quite a bit of a difference. He's going to have that pace. He's going to have that speed. He's going to have that volume that he's always had. But you look at Gaethje and the power, for every 3 or 4 shots that Holloway throws, one power shot from Gaethje, I think is the same amount of damage. And you look at this fight, I think it's not going to get to the ground. They're going to be standing, and these guys land a bunch. I mean, they've got close to like a 47, 48%, striking landing rate on their punches. And when you look at this, you talk about interviews, these guys, they're not planning on a war lasting 5 rounds. Like, especially, and I'm going to be the one to say it because I've heard a lot of people saying it and people saying, oh, you can't take that into your handicapping. $300,000 is the new bonus. I'm sorry, Andy. I had to bring it up. I don't know what you think about this, but I feel like that's going to be in the back of these heads for these guys, even though these two fighters have been around the block for quite some time. I think someone's lights go out. And at the end of the day, I also think if Holloway does win, I think he actually has the ability to do a submission, but I love the price on Gaethje by TKO or KO. I think he can put Holloway's lights out. I think people are going to be really shocked by it. And I think when you move up weight classes against a guy like Gaethje, who's looked absolutely dialed, and let's not forget the leg kicks. This guy has been absolutely steady with that as well. And it's been opening up things a lot more for his striking. So I think that fight most certainly can go under the total, 4.5, not go the distance. Justin Gaethje by TKO by KO. I think it's going to be a tough night for Holloway. And I've noticed in general, judges lately, they're caring a lot more about power and damage than they are caring about volume. Like you've seen so many scorecards over the last few events where you've got a guy with a ton more strikes, But it doesn't matter because that guy's face looks way worse and he took more damage. So they're rewarding the guy that did the damage and not as much the strike. So this to me, Andy, and I don't want to just sound like a fan that's, hoping this happens. I'm looking at this card right now. And besides a few of them, like maybe the Holm and Harrison fight, I think a lot of these go under the total, man. I think we actually see a lot of these fights end early.
I think the $300,000 bonus is completely overblown. I could be completely wrong on this one. I can't believe where you would have somebody like, well, I was going to hit him pretty hard, but now that there's 300,000 on there, now I'm really going to hit him hard. Like, it's UFC 300. Like, I don't know. I don't know how much more motivated do these guys have to be. I mean, it's a nice added feature for them, but I'm not sure it makes a difference in the actual fight. You mentioned one, Holm, Kayla Harrison. Holm to win by decision is plus 500. Oh yeah, absolutely. Andrew, let me ask you something. Do you follow PFL, like even just casually or not at all?
Just casually? I'll just turn it on. Like, yeah.
Okay, so what do you know about Kayla Harrison?
I know that she's being overhyped. I know that she's coming here and everyone has high expectations for her, but I don't think she's going to like put someone's lights out in the first round. You know what I mean? Like looking at some of the fights that she's had, can you say that she's faced competition like Holm in the past? Because that's kind of what I'm looking at here. I think that this is going to be a fighter that's really hyped up, being thrown into the world. I think Holm is excited to be the person that gets to fight her, honestly.
Yeah, so Kayla Harrison, I think people like know her from like 3 years ago, and she's not that fighter. She's just not. So I'll start off with that. She's going down to a weight class that she's never fought at. She has a brutal weight cut, and I know she looks great in her pictures, and she's obviously been working really hard. Doesn't matter. This is a different weight class, and she's not a spring chicken. And her last two fights, Andrew, she got her brakes beaten off by Larissa Pacheco, and then she beat Aspen Ladd. Yes, Aspen Ladd in one of the most unconvincing wins ever. Kayla Harrison has no striking. Like, Erin Blanchfield would beat the brakes off of her in a boxing fight. Like, Kayla Harrison has absolutely no striking. And if she cannot get Holm to the ground, it's going to be a classic Holm kick and move, jab and move, kick and move. And I'm not sure Kayla Harrison has the cardio to keep up with Holly, especially not on the feet. If this stays on the feet, it's just going to be a point fight from Holm. And even if Kayla Harrison gets Holm on the ground, like Kayla Harrison was able to hold Aspen Ladd down. Whoop-dee. Like Holm, I know she's in her 40s. I know she's in her 40s, but this is just a different beast. And yeah, Holm, you think she's not motivated to just wreck Kayla Harrison's debut? I made the case that of all the fighters on this card, I think the four most motivated to train the hardest are all females. That's Holm, Kayla Harrison, and Weili Zhang and Yan Zhanan. Like, there's so much on the line for them and just so much at stake that I think that you're just going to see the best ever from all of them. But Holm to win by decision at plus 500 is absolutely incredible value from a Kayla Harrison that I just have not been very impressed with for a while now. So, any other props?
One more, Andy, I have to. Yeah, one more. I have to go to the distance. It's funny because I mentioned about a bunch of them going, ending early on, but I got a couple more to go the distance here. I'm not a big Diego Lopez guy. And I'm not really on his hype train. I think he's been fed some easy opponents. I think he's kind of slipped in some really nice submissions. I'm a big fan of Yousef here, and I see the plus 275 for Sodiq Yousef to win by decision. I don't think that Lopez has fought someone that's really had the ability to defend submissions, to defend takedowns. I think this is a match for Lopez. It's going to be a lot more difficult for him. And I feel like this one, Andy, if you had any time, if you need to go, get some food, you take a bathroom break, get a beer from the fridge, this is the fight for it. It's not going to be a fun fight to watch, not going to be entertaining, but I think that's what it's all about. Is Yousef, I think, is going to be able to cause trouble for Lopez and not have those openings like previous opponents have. So again, you look at the money line prices for these guys right now, and we're not trying to get fancy. We're not trying to get greedy here. We're just looking at pathways to victory. And I think that for him, Yousef by decision at plus 275 is certainly the way to go in this one. For the record, Lopez by submission is plus 300. Lopez by decision is plus 550. So pretty much if this gets to the points, if this gets in the judge's hands, I do agree with the odds makers here that Yousef gets the job done. Any thoughts on that? Am I just a Lopez hater here?
I love Lopez. You and I will just be on different sides of this. I love the upside. In his first fight against Evloev, he almost had Evloev in submissions and like several times. That was his short notice debut. So even though he lost to a beast. And since then, he's, listen, he fought Tucker, who's a can, but he did what he was supposed to do, submitted him in the first round. Sabatini, not a great striker. Lopez flatlined him in the first round. So I like that he's done what he's supposed to do against lesser opponents that have weaknesses. And I'm just not a Yousef guy. I'm just not. I watched him win the first round against Barboza and then lose 4 straight rounds. His cardio just went away. Yeah, he's got more volume, but at this point in their careers, I think Lopez has more paths to victory in finishes, and I think it's a lot because of the submissions. His submission and grappling game is elite. It's one of the best, not one of the best, but one of the better ones. And he's young and upcoming, and I just like trying to get on board with these guys. Michael Morales is another one that, several fights ago, I was just like, oh, this is a young guy. We need to be betting on him because he's this young and up-and-coming guy who's going to be undervalued. Now, Lopez is going to get checked at some point, and he's going to lose. I don't know if Yousef is the guy to take him out. I go down Yousef's record, and it's just not that impressive, at least to me. So you and I will be on different sides. It'll be fun to reconvene and see who's right about that one because I don't think it's a close fight either way. I think Yousef either pieces him up through volume or Lopez submits him or something. I think it's going to be a pretty convincing way any time. So
either way, are you with me, Andy? It's probably not the most exciting one on the card out of the UFC 300. Or there's worse.
The exciting part could be the grappling and submission game of Lopez. It is kind of exciting. If he gets Yousef down, he could absolutely have a lot of fun on the ground. So, but yeah, Yousef in general is not that exciting of a fighter. Alex Pereira and Jamal Hill, Andrew, could you just take both guys by knockout? Neither of these guys are submitting the other one. And I know Jamal Hill coming off of injury, he ain't got 5-round cardio. Alex Pereira does not have 5-round cardio. I just kind of feel like you could take each guy to win by knockout and you would be in pretty good shape. What's your thoughts on the main event?
Yeah, my thoughts are it's not going to be a long one. I think the walkouts to the octagon are going to be the longest part of that whole fight. Again, we don't want to get too fancy here, but for purposes of the show here, I think this fight ends in the second round. I think these guys go out. There's some damage done for both guys in the first round, a little bit of feel-out process. They go back to their corners. They get a couple talks. They don't listen to either guy, and they go back out there and just swing. I mean, do you think that anything that Jamal Hill's team has told him in his entire training camp when he's watching film is going to actually take place this Saturday night? He's going to go out there and absolutely brawl. It's going to work or it's really not going to work. And we have seen Pereira get caught before as well, but it's going to be just two guys exchanging shots. Whoever's lights go out first wins, which is why I do think that there could be some damage taken early in the first round, and the second round this fight ends. I'd be shocked, but very entertained if this fight had the ability to actually go a few rounds. But it's interesting. And looking at Jamal Hill's opponents, Andy, do you think would you describe Pereira as a guy that is durable, or he just doesn't take that many hits? Because, I mean, that little bit of that kind of counter strike that Izzy got on him didn't even seem like it was that heavy. I mean, it was just clean and accurate. Do you consider him durable, or he's just not really hit very often?
Yeah, he's just not hit that often. But I don't think Jamal Hill had Achilles surgery like 9 months ago. Yeah. I don't believe he's got the power. I don't believe he's got got the cardio, and those twiggy little legs of his are going to get gnarled up in the first round. Alex Pereira is going to throw. I was actually talking to Kyle Anthony yesterday, and Kyle was telling me he was at the Pereira Yuri fight, and he was like sitting pretty close, and he was like, when Alex Pereira hit Yuri with those first 3 leg kicks, he was like, the sound was just this gigantic thud. And he's like, live, you could just see Yuri was done. And he was like, the person I was sitting next to, we were just like, oh my God, Yuri's done. Like, he's switching stances. His leg's already damaged. And Achilles injury, Jamal Hill doesn't have great footwork, and he's got these tiny little legs anyways. I think Pereira eats up the leg. So, yeah, I mean, he's got to avoid the big shot, but if he doesn't,
he doesn't let people get in.
He's going to sleep. No. If
people can't get in close.
Yeah, absolutely.
Their legs get kicked. Their legs get kicked. They can't get in close to Pereira. Their legs just keep getting kicked.
Yep. So those are some props for UFC 300. I'll touch on Masters here for just a bit. The wind is going to get worse as the day goes on today. I would look strongly at some overs on the round 2 scores. A lot of these are at 72.5, which means if they shoot even par, that goes under. If they shoot +1, they go over, and the course is drying out and the wind is picking up. It's going to be 25, 30 mile an hour gusts by the end of the day. I think it's going to play pretty tough. If we're looking at Tiger Woods tees off like literally just a little bit. And they got him at 73.5. I think he shoots 2 over. There's a couple guys that really struggled, like Brian Harmon. He's a lefty. He plays terrible here anyways. Andrew shot like 7 over in the first round. I think you could look at him going over. The guy I'm not taking an over, though, is Scotty Scheffler. You can get him under 71.5, which means if he shoots 1 under in round 2, you cash. I think he's too good. His tee to green is too good. His putting has been good, and then he holes out from a bunker, and he's -6. I mean, this is even if he shoots 4 shots worse than he did yesterday, he cashes this ticket for you. So nobody's playing better right now than Scotty Scheffler. I know Bryson has the lead, but I don't trust Bryson for a while. So I think Scheffler under 71.5 for his round 2 score is a fantastic prop on the Masters. So let's jump into a little bit of NHL and NBA. AJ, I'll just be honest. I can't wrap my head around the last few games of the season, so I will be sitting out NBA and NHL myself personally. There are some props that I like. I just can't get to the window on them. So let's jump to NHL. I don't know. What are your thoughts here as we're closing out the season, and any plays that you like for today?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been talking a lot on puck time, and we'll talk today about a lot of these times. You really, my sides and total bets have been a lot on the teams that are out of the playoffs already. I feel like I've had a good read on which teams are stepping up, which teams are packing it in. But from a prop perspective, I think you really want to be focusing in for the most part on the teams that are in a playoff position, because the teams that aren't, it seems to be a different guy scoring and a different guy contributing every night. You're better off taking unders on those guys. But again, I mean, Sidney Crosby right now, Erik Karlsson, you've got Alexander Ovechkin, Dylan Strome. You've got all the big guys scoring constantly. Matt Barzal, Bo Horvat, all those guys, what they have in common is they're competing for the final spot in the Eastern Conference. And that old saying of big time players make big time plays, it becomes very true when you're logging 3 or 4 minutes more of ice time than you have through the entire regular season. I don't think the fourth line played in the entire third period yesterday for the Pittsburgh Penguins. They played the Detroit Red Wings. Same thing goes for the Red Wings. So what that does, Andy, is just completely add time to the second and first line if you eliminate the fourth line. Coaches don't care about equal play time. They don't care about the fourth liners. They want to get the job done. They want to win, which is good if you're a fan of the prop betting market. But also what we're seeing right now are how important the power plays have been. You know, looking at a guy like Jake Gensel, the addition at the trade deadline, hopping off the LTIR, making an immediate impact for the Carolina Hurricanes. We know his price is not strong for him to record a point, for him to get an assist, for him to score a goal. It's not even that intriguing. But for him to get a power play point, which he's done in 7 of the last 10 games he's suited up in, I feel like it's a really good bet to make here. And you look at where he is on the team here. He's a starting left wing on the top line there, but the power play, Gensel, Aho, Teravainen, Burns, and Jarvis, he's pretty much that guy in the bumper slot that just has the green light to shoot. Like, he is that guy. If you're an NBA fan, just imagine a guy that has 30 points and dribbled the ball 3 times all game. That's pretty much Gensel. When he gets the puck, he has the green light to shoot it. And I love the price here. You can shop around plus 120, 130. I saw some 140s on this guy to get a power play point. So that's really where I've been looking here, Andy. And what's exciting is so many people are looking at these games. You know how people want to bet the big games, right, Andy? And that this game is important, so I have to bet it. And I think in those games, you're actually more so looking at props. Like yesterday, I didn't end up betting on the Penguins game, but if I was going to, it would have been something on Carlson or something on Crosby. Because whether or not they won or not, those two guys were probably going to do something in that game. And Carlson got the game-winning goal. Sidney Crosby got 2 points. So kind of just keeping it simple with the star players. And as far as my sides and totals, I've probably been involved in more Coyotes and Sharks and Ducks games than I have been all season long.
Love it. Yeah, there's some NHL props. If we're looking at points, not a lot of great ones. I mean, like there's a bunch of St. Louis guys that have points in a row, like Buchnevich and Robert Thomas and some of those guys, and they're really juiced to the over, but they've really been doing it against bad teams. I mean, their last 3 opponents are Chicago, Anaheim, San Jose. So, I mean, Andrew, you and I might be able to go on a little bit of a run on points against those teams. So, you know what I mean? So, I mean, who are they playing? Carolina now? So, I would be very, very terrified to take an over if you're looking at St. Louis Blues guys, even though they've been on streaks. In fact, you can get all those guys at plus money. And, I mean, Andrew, if this game's like a 2-1, 3-1 Carolina win, oh, you're sitting pretty with all those St. Louis players with plus money to go under points. Shots on goal. Here's another great one. All of these Arizona guys, Sean Dursey, Dylan Gunther, these guys have gone over, and then they face Edmonton tonight, who do not give up a lot of shots on goal. So if you're looking at current form, it's leading you down the road of some of these other guys, but I would be very, very cautious about playing guys on the St. Louis Blues, on the Arizona Coyotes, even though they've been hitting. And I listen to Lawson Krause burned me. He was crushing his over 1.5 shots on goal. I played him again the other night, and he had 0, and it was against a tough opponent. So it's like, okay, step up in competition, and then there you go. You don't get those. So Edmonton tonight, I think you might be looking at power play point. Kaprizov. I know he's got a pretty tough matchup. Guy's like money on the power play. He's gone over 4 in a row, and you can get that at plus money. I mean, he's on that Minnesota Wild team on the power play. You could take his shots on goal just on the power play. He's the one that just you know what I mean? Like, of his shots on goal, a lot of them come on the power play. They just set him up. He plays basically the whole time. So a power play point at plus money would be Kaprizov. And then don't you have to look at Edmonton over power play points? Like Draisaitl's plus 115 tonight. Even Zach Hyman's plus 180 tonight. I'm sure you could do Connor McDavid at a pretty decent one against this Arizona Coyotes team. I mean, Edmonton is just absolutely rolling in the last 3 games. So power play points on the Edmonton guys and Kaprizov tonight, and then unders on the St. Louis Blues guys and the Arizona Coyotes. That would be the way that I would look at the NHL games tonight. Anything else in NHL?
Eddie, I wanted to say I agree with you there. Like, there's current form, and I love riding streaks, and you obviously have to check the opponents, but you're right. I mean, strength of schedule as far as betting a side, I think is the same thing as betting a prop. It really is. I mean, you look at strength of schedule, oh, well, this guy's done well, shots on goal over in this, against that team, that team, that team. Well, they're all below 500 teams. And then you go ahead and put them against a good team, and what, like you mentioned, you're going to get plus money sometimes if a guy's on a big streak and you fade that. But hey, that old expression, man, a streak's only broken once, but it can keep on going. So that's what kind of is tough sometimes, trying to go against it and trying to go against a streak. We do have a shorts comment here saying from Bonzel Buckeye, saying Pereira has the worst strike defense in the UFC at 47%. And we have left leg symmetry saying, I like Pereira. So that username works very well for Pereira. So is that really Pereira does. In the comment section? Is that him commenting right now?
I like me on leg kicks. I mean, I like Pereira on leg kicks. And Pereira's striking defense has not been great. The big one with him is right up the middle, and that is a Jamal Hill specialty. So, thank you for the comments. I love left leg cemetery. Loves the guy with leg kicks. That's great. Let's jump to NBA here real quick. My buddy Gary Trent Jr., he keeps going over his points, rebounds, and assists no matter who the opponent is. It's 20.5, even though this guy has gone over this 10 games in a row. He faces Miami, who I know is a tough defense. He faced Miami in January. He had 30 points, rebounds, and assists. So this falls in the category of one of those, if it ain't broke, don't fix. I mean, look at some of these numbers, Andrew. 23 against the Pacers, 32 against Washington, 39 against Milwaukee. He had 26 against the Knicks. That's a good defense. He had 22 against Orlando. That's a good defense. The game before, 35 against that same Orlando team. So I know he's playing the Miami Heat, who, for the season are a good defense, and they can lock guys down. But man, this number seems low. I think I'm going right back to it. He's playing a ton of minutes. He's padding the stat sheet in everything. Like, he's going over not just his points and rebounds and assists. His points he's going over, his rebounds and assists he's been going over. So it's Gary Trent over for me. I'll go over a couple of real quick ones here. Chris Middleton, under 36.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I know the thinking is Giannis is out. But here's the thing. Gone under in every game this season without Giannis. He's only had 32, 34, and 32. And he's gone under in 27 out of his last 30 games. I know that he had minutes restrictions early in the season. But that last game where he only had 32 without Giannis wasn't playing that. He was playing full minutes. And that was recently. And this Milwaukee team, they already got Giannis hurt, which, I mean, 2 years in a row with bad timing injuries there for Giannis. I'm not really sure how much Milwaukee wants to push the aggression, I guess, towards the end of the season as it's winding down. You already got Giannis hobbled around. Why would you be trying to rely on Middleton at the end of the regular season when he's not exactly shown the most durability in the world? So I like Chris Middleton under 36.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And Miles Turner over 1.5 made threes. He's gone over in 7 out of 8 games. For whatever reason, he's shooting a lot of threes recently. Like, he's had a game with 6 attempts and a game with 8 attempts. So if he keeps shooting, I don't know, 5, if he gets to 5 or 6 attempts, I would think he would go over tonight. It's a pretty decent matchup against Cleveland, who's not great against the 3-point shot from outside. So Middleton, Gary Trent, Miles Turner, those are some guys I'm looking at in the NBA. Anything in NBA, Andrew?
Nothing for me, Andy, in the NBA. I've been sticking with the team totals. Same thing. Just been betting against these teams in off road trips, mostly, honestly, just getting these fatigued gas teams. And you bet the NBA a hell of a lot more than I do, Andy, but I got to say it made me smile when I heard what your $2 play was, because like that was such a me play lately. Like, that's something that I've been doing. It's like how many people do you think that night bet on that Portland team total besides your $2 play? I mean, honestly, like, who opened up their app and was like, I'm going to take yeah,
about
exactly.
800 people.
Yeah, and that's it. Nobody else
got that play. So
yeah, that's great, and that's an awesome winner.
I did laugh. Brian Power had the exact same play. I found out the next day. He sent me a message. He was like, "I was watching too. Then I see you on Twitter going nuts about the Trailblazers over." So Yeah, what a wildest $2 Tuesday play certainly I've ever been a part of. That's got to be an all-timer for Wager Talk history. So, all right, Andrew, what do you have to promote? What do you have up at Wager Talk for this weekend?
Andy, I'm really liking today's slate in both MLB and in the NHL. I've got a 4% play in both sports. The play in the NHL was nearly a 5, but stuck it with just a 4%, trying to get on a roll here with the team totals. We'll look to do that in the NHL. Tomorrow is going to be a UFC pack. We're not going too crazy, just 3 plays. It's looking like you can get that in one package. But I think the best thing to do right now is to grab a 3-day package. If you're interested in my NHL stuff, the best thing you can do is get the 188 special. That'll give you the rest of the regular season plus the entire playoffs. But right now, I'm very active. You know, we got some fighters that are active, Andy. I'm active in a ton of sports. And being active is great because I'm not high volume in all those sports. We're just picking away in all of them. And I do have one MLB play to give up before we end up the show as well. But what do you have going this weekend?
Well, first off, shout out to the chat. Make sure you leave a comment. Tell us what you like for this weekend, especially UFC 300. Tell us what you like in NBA and NHL. But I'm loving to see what props you guys are on. It's going to be the most bet UFC card of the year, probably. So hit the like button. Leave us a comment. Andrew, I don't know if I'll be in play tonight. We have our 5% UFC play that is up. We've been writing that. We'll be taking a look at Masters plays, but just go get the UFC 5% play. That's the big one. We've got lacrosse play that is up. We'll probably have MLB and maybe some soccer plays up. But really, this weekend is all about our 5% UFC 300. The line is held steady all week, so you're getting great value on that. So go grab that if you haven't. And that is going to do it for us. Thanks a lot for joining us. Everyone, make sure you don't overexpose yourself with too many units this weekend, especially on the big events like UFC 300. Remember all the plays. 3% play at a big event, 3% play at a low-profile event. They all spend the same. So good luck on your plays, and we will see everyone next week on Prop It Up.